Hello everyone. Today I'm going to be teaching you how to use the assessment tool in Schoology. It's one of my favorite things about Schoology. I use it a lot in all of my classes, and it's been a really useful tool for online learning, and it's one of the tools that I get the least questions about from students. So that's always a good thing when the students know exactly what to do, and they don't really have trouble completing the assignments. So I'm going to start in resources by clicking on this resource thing. I recommend that you put all of your assessments in resources just because you can copy it to multiple places and it'll stay with you throughout the quarter and things like that. So I'm going to create it in resources. I've created folders, so I see all of my assessments and assignments in here. If you'd like to know how to do that, let me know and I can help you out. But today we're going to focus on the assessment tool. So you're going to add resources, and to add assessment, you can title it whatever you want. So I'm going to title it Assessment Tutorial. Okay. Max points, however many points you think it's going to be out of. Keep in mind that you'll have to go back if your points don't add up in the questions that you make, but we'll talk more about that later. So let's assume that we're making a 10-point assessment. Submit. And this is the first thing that you will see. You'll see the setup. So this is where you can write your instructions to the students. This is the first thing they'll see when they start an attempt. And then you have a bunch of different options. So this is the time limit. If you want them to have a time limit, you can say 40 minutes or 50 minutes or however long you want your students to have. Keep in mind that if your students opens it, it automatically starts the timer. Once that time is up, it automatically kicks them out, and it doesn't matter if they are done or not. But if you don't want them to have a time, then click no. Assessment questions are randomly ordered. You can click yes, but keep in mind that if your students ask, well, I don't understand number one, know that your number one and their number one are not going to be the same thing most of the time. So, but if you would like them to be random, then you can click yes on that. Show possible points. So if you want them to see how many points the question's out of, then you click yes. If you don't want them to know, then click no. This is where this is helpful for students, and it depends on what you want them to do. As a music teacher, I don't really play with any of these, especially like the protractor and things, but that would be useful for math. So calculator, ruler, protractor, do you want them to be able to use any of these things? With the calculator, you can say a basic calculator, or you can do a scientific calculator. It's up to you. For this one, you can have 15 centimeters or 6 inches. Depending on what you are doing. The students can eliminate answer choices. They can flag questions for review. Just make sure you click yes if you want them to be able to do that. It's just an assessment tool to help students be able to take your assessment with the greatest of ease. Or if you want them to have more difficulty, then that's up to you. Totally how you want to teach. And then they can highlight text, they can use a notepad, things like that. Down here, this is the two buttons I play with most. So allow students to view results after an attempt is submitted. So if you do not want them to know what they got wrong, then click no. If you're afraid that they'll share answers with other students, then that's very reasonable. You can click no. Or you can click yes, which will just tell them what they got wrong. It won't tell them what the correct answer is. If you want them to know what the correct answer is, then say yes with corrected answers. I use this when we had a review. Instead of doing a study guide type of thing, I allowed them to take an assessment several times, and as many times as they wanted, really. And I said yes with corrected answers. So in theory, if they wanted to, they could get 100%. So that's how I used it instead of a study guide. And then the quiz, I obviously said no and allowed them to take it once, unless there was some like weird snafu. Number of attempts students can submit. This is important if you, let's say you set it to 1 time, but a student says, oh, I really want to redo that to get a better grade. And you're like, no problem. So you can click this, click 2 times, click save. it will automatically update for the students to be able to do. And then it will say when students go to take it, you're about to attempt, your second attempt out of 2 or something like that. If you want the highest score to be taken, then click that. If they take it 2 times, whichever is highest, Schoology will calculate into the gradebook for you. Or if you want it to be their last score, so if they've taken it 10 times, it'll take their 10th attempt. If you click that one, which also, if you click on more attempts, that's fine. You can go up to 20, but keep in mind you might have to grade 20 assignments for one student for one assignment. So be careful of that. I typically only do 2, and then if a student really asks for a third time, then I'll do that. But typically I don't keep it more than that. Otherwise it gets a little overwhelming. Okay, make sure you click save, and then go back up to the top. And then we'll go to questions. So this is where the fun begins. Okay, so there are so many different types of questions, and I won't even be able to cover all of them, but I'll cover the ones that I think would be most beneficial, at least to me in the past. For some of you, like I never used math short answer, but obviously for math teachers, that would be a really cool one, and number line and chart. For science or something would be really good for chart, but I haven't played around with those a whole ton. So I'll show you the ones that I've been using a lot, and I think they can be applied to your classroom as well. So first, we have a multiple choice question. So in a multiple choice question, you can write in your question whatever it is, and then you can also add a picture, which I've used a whole lot. And if you want to do this, this would be a good example. Let's say in social studies, you're studying different monuments and the 7 wonders of the world or something, and you want to say, okay, like maybe you put in a picture of the Eiffel Tower, right? And you say, okay, where is this from? Like what city is this in? What country is this in? Or just what is the name of this monument, or whatever you want to call, and or maybe you put in a picture of a pyramid and say, what is this, or what is this called? And then you can put in your answers. So you can put like A, B, C, D. I don't know, the the you can also add pictures in here or links, and you can also do special characters and tables and anything that would help you. So if you wanted to flip the question and say, which one of these is the Eiffel Tower, then you could have pictures of different things. Maybe you'll have a picture of the pyramids, and then a picture of the Eiffel Tower, and then you'll have a picture of the Great Wall of China or something like that, and then they can be able to pick. You can use distractor rationale. I haven't used that a ton, but I think it's just to kind of distract them from the correct answer. So if it's a similar answer or something like that, I don't know. You can also add multiple options. If you don't think 4 is enough and you want them to have 6 options or however many, you can do that as well. So let's say this is really important. This is the correct answer setup. This is how Schoology is going to grade your assessments. So for multiple choice, pretty much there's only going to be one right answer typically. So you can do that if you want. So typically we'll have, A is this answer, B is this answer, C is this answer, and D might be all of the above. Instead of doing that, you can say multiple responses, and that way they can click multiple things. So if you don't want that, then don't click that. You can also shuffle the options so that students aren't getting the same options as other students if you're worried about that. Exact match means that if you made this point or this question like 5 points, if they get it wrong, they lose 5 points. If you want them to get partial credit, then click partial and they will get some of the points. And we'll talk more about that when it comes to the matching question, because that's really important. But for multiple choice, most people will probably pick exact match. But if you do multiple responses, you might want to do partial match. Maybe they get 2 out of 3 or something like that. Okay. Okay, you can also preview the question, which is really helpful, so you can see what the students see. And then you can see, oh, is this the correct answer? Nope. And it shows you that's the correct answer. Or if you unclick that and you're like, oh, that's the correct answer, woo, you got it right. Okay, make sure that you click either save or back to edit. If you hit the X without saving, it'll be a bad time and you'll be sad. I've done it many times. Don't do it. So make sure you click save, and there's your question. So you can also duplicate this question. Let's say it's going to be a similar type of question or similar answers or something like that. You can copy it. It saves you a little bit of time, especially if you're using the same pictures and things like that. So you can click copy or delete if you don't want it. Whoops, I clicked into it. All right, then you can say how many points this is worth. Typically for multiple choice, I pick 1, but if you're the type of teacher that wants to always make sure your students have a 50% and you want to do like half credit or something, then you can do 2. And then you can always put in 1 point and things like that if they get it wrong. Okay. All right, so that's multiple choice. True and false is basically the same as multiple choice. Same features, except it has it filled in for you, true and false. Same thing. Matching is really cool to me as a music teacher, and I'm going to show you an example. I said match the vocabulary to the musical symbol. So you can also add a picture up here if you want, but you can also add pictures in here, and I'm going to show you that in my 6th grade pre-test. Match the musical vocabulary to the correct picture. So what I did is I put in the vocabulary here on the left, the prompts, and then I put in a picture by clicking in here and clicking the image button, and then you can drag and drop or click in here and it brings up your files and you can find what you're looking for. And then you would click OK. Again, never just click out of the box because it won't save. Make sure you click OK. So these are the pictures, and then this is where the correct matching, first of all, make sure you order these correctly. So what happens when you create something, it'll give you the options down here and you just drag them to the correct places, and that's your answer key. Once you have the answer key, see this is 100%, you can go down here. So you can have duplicate responses. So if you have 2 pictures that can be called the same thing, like, I don't know, what if you're doing like adjectives, nouns, and verbs or something like that, and 2 of the words are adjectives, you can have them click duplicate responses and they can drag adjectives to 2 different places. Partial match is very important on matching questions because I don't know about you, but if I'm doing a matching question, I'm doing 1 point for each of these. So I have, I think, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yes, 6 questions. Or 6 matching parts, so I'm going to make this out of 6 points. But if you click exact match and they get 1 of these wrong, then they lose all 6 points, which is very unfair to the student because they got 5 right, and I think we should acknowledge that. So make sure that you click on partial match. Also, I don't play with this box. Keep it at 0. The only reason that you might want to use the penalty score, if you think that your student should be basically double penalized for getting a question wrong, you can play with this box and do like 100 or something like that, and it takes off more if you get something wrong. I don't typically do that. I just say what they got right, they got right. So you leave it at partial match and 0. So I'll show you what that looks like on the student end. So if you go to preview, I'm going to get some of these right and then some of these wrong. So I'll get that right. We'll put this as wrong, wrong. I'll do that, and then we'll do this. Whoops, that's not what I wanted to do. All right, here we go. All right, so let's say the kids answered just like this. Then you can show answers, and you can see that 2 of them are correct while 4 of them are wrong. So you can see this score up here. It says 200 out of 600, which is what you want. If you see 0 out of 600, then that means you have it on exact match. Okay, and I'll show you what that can look like. So if you're on that exact match and you went and saved it because it likes you to save match the music vocabulary to the correct picture, you go to preview. do some of that, some of that, some of that. We'll get 1 right. Well, actually, we'll get 2 right. And then we will look at show answers. So see, it says 0. So that means your students, even though they got 1, 2, 3 right, they would get 0 points. So that's no good. Unless you want that to be what students are doing, that's fine. But I prefer to do partial match and then save. Okay, so that's the matching feature. Another good feature is the, what's it called? Not this, go away. The label image one. So label image, when you click on it, not that, this, you can upload a picture. So like if you were doing like the adjectives, nouns, and verbs sentences, you can upload a picture by clicking upload image. Make sure you don't click in the box and click the image button. You actually click upload image. You put in the image here. You can replace the image, hit OK, and then you can add response box. So I clicked 4 of them, and you can drag these around wherever you want them. So let's say this was a sentence instead of rhythm. You could have the students drag and drop the adjectives, nouns based on the word that you have. Maybe it's a short sentence. You can have many options. So you notice I only have 3 responses for 4 answers, and the reason for that is because these 2 measures have the same. So if you had 2 adjectives in your sentence, instead of having adjective in your first answer and then adjective in your second answer, they won't know which adjectives goes where because they're the same word and they look the same. So what you need to do is click on duplicate responses. So that means they can drag the same thing and put it in multiple different places. Okay, instead of just having one answer. Again, this is a good one for partial match because this, again, I would put out of 4 points. So if they get these 2 right, but not these 2, then they would get 2 out of 4 and things like that. Hit save always and forever. Yeah. Another good tool is the label image, which is found, or not label image, highlight image. If you click on highlight image, then the students can actually draw on the picture, whereas label image, you give them answers to label on your picture. Highlight image, they can actually draw on your picture, which I know some people are trying to figure out how to draw on PDFs. This would be a good solution because you can take a picture of your PDF and upload it, and I'll show you what that looks like right here. So you're going to upload the image. This is my image that I'm uploading. And then once you do that, you're going to click on OK. And then this is the colors they get to choose from. This is my directions. So preview questions. So I previewed this earlier. So they can draw on it using different colors. You know, they can cross things out if they want. They can circle things. They can change the color based on what you want. So if you want to say in blue, do this, and then in red, do this, you can totally do that. So this is, again, the preview so that you see what the students can see. Then you can hit clear or undo something so that they have control of that, or redo. So that kind of helps them. So if you ever need to, do the PDF option, this to me is a good solution, especially if it's not super lengthy, or you divide it into parts and do several of these. I think that would be a good option for all of you. So again, click save. So that's a good option. My 2 favorite things, though, are probably the what's it called? The audio and the video tool. So these tools are, if you want to get direct feedback, the students can't really cheat. I mean, I guess they could read off of a screen or something like that, but I feel like that's pretty easy to tell based on the student's tone of voice. and things like that. But you can click on audio or video question. If you click on audio, you can make it however many seconds you want, put in directions, clap, rhythm. Why can't I spell? Rhythm? No. Rhythm. There we go. Okay, clap the rhythm. So this is previewing the question. This is what the student sees. They'll get a microphone button, and then it'll get an allow thing. They just click allow. You can see this is going, and whatever, it'll automatically stop at a minute, but I can pause it, and I can end the button, and then I can get the microphone button. So they can preview what they have said, and then they can hit play, and then they can say, okay, I like that, going on to the next question. So that's that one. And then, and I'll show you a student example in a minute. Then there's the video question. I know some people are using Flipgrid, which is a really good tool. I'm using that for choir to download the videos. But if you don't care about downloading and your students don't know how to upload, videos or whatever, they can do it in Schoology. And I've only had 2 students have issues with their camera and mic on Schoology, but once I told them to go to the resource center, it was magically fixed. So, yeah, so you can do the same thing. You can add an image, add a link, do whatever you want to do. Maximum length, preview. This is what they would see as a video. So if they hit record, allow, okay, no microphone found apparently. See, things like that. But if the students have it set up right, they would be able to do that, and I'll show you a student example. So this is Jaden's. I had them do djembe rhythm. So what I did is I had the what they're supposed to do. So they had to angle their camera downward, press the record button, and tap the rhythm below. And we went over that, how to do that in class. And then I even uploaded an image for them to be able to clap or tap on the desk. So this was hers. So this allows you to get that feedback even though we're not in person. Then you can go through and grade just like you normally would. And this is for questions that these obviously can't be self-graded, or Schoology can't grade them because video and audio, it doesn't know what to do with that. So this is an audio example. Okay, kind of quiet, but you can still make out the sounds. Okay, and then you can go and grade them however you want. All right, so those are really useful. So for example, let's say you want to do a video question for science or for social studies, maybe you have them, do an experiment or have a diorama of some sort and you want them to explain it. This is a good way to do so you don't take up class time, but you get feedback from each student. And they can explain their project, what they did and what they learned and stuff like that. For the audio questions, I can see that being useful maybe in, math or English, reading a passage, or explaining how you did a word problem, or, how you solved an equation or something like that, so that you're actually having them verbally explain to you what they did. So yeah, is there any other thing? Oh, short answer essay is just, just like we would in a paper test, like, you give them a question and they get to type in the answer. You'd obviously have to go in and grade that one because, again, Schoology won't grade anything the students have to type or draw or anything like that. But pretty much anything from here up is self-graded by Schoology because you'll have to put in an answer key. Most of these down below, you might have to grade. I'm not sure about these last 3, but you can play around with that. So yeah, so let's go back. So going back into setup, I like to just save everything just in case, I just want to make sure. So I go back into my resources where I saved it, and you have to go into edit. So notice I only had 1 question in there, which was 2 points. So obviously I think most of you would have at least like a 5-point question or something like that. But you can put in 2 points. If you leave it at 10, it'll take some weird like percentage of the score. So let's say they get, 0 on the assignment that we just created. So they got 0 out of 2, but you put it as 10. it'll say like 80% because you basically gave them a bunch of free points, which is fine if you want to do that. But typically, if I give a free point, it's because my assessment is like 19 points. I'm like, I'll just give them one extra point for doing it. So I do 20, but it's up to you. So let's say it's out of 2 points. Then this is the important part. When you want to add it to your class, you have to go to this little gear shift, and then you go to add to course. Once you do that, you can click on any one of your classes. You can click on multiple classes if you want, max 2 points, and then you can assign the due date, the time it's due, category, all that good stuff, and do what you need to do. You can also change the max points here. I don't know, maybe you want 6-3 to be out of 2 points, but 6-6 you want it to be out of 4 points. I don't know. So you can do that if you would like, or if you forget to change the thing in the edit, you can just change this to 2 points and be like, oops, I put it at 4 points. Sorry, I want 2 points. Okay, and then add. I'm not going to do that, but that's how you would do that. Once you do that, let's say I assigned it to 6-6. So let's go to 6-6. So it's not going to appear at the top like I have it in my Schoology right now. It's going to appear all the way at the bottom automatically. You can't really do anything about it. You can organize it if you had folders, but I do not. So it would appear at the bottom. So if you are like, I don't see it, go all the way to the bottom. I promise you it's there. Okay. So it also will automatically like publish it. So what I do is I quickly go and be like, no, and I click the gear shift and I say unpublish. I don't want that. And then I drag it to the top. Okay. So once you drag it to the top, this is unpublished. You would click on the gear shift. This is also very important. Make sure you hit edit. And the students won't be able to see it if it's unpublished. But if it is published, you need to make sure that you click enable, because the default is to be on disable. And that's no fun because the kids won't be able to submit the assessment. They'll be able to see it, but they won't be able to complete the questions or anything like that. So that's no good. So make sure you hit enable. This will allow them to take it whenever it's published. If you want them to not be able to submit after a certain date, you can click on enable until. So let's say you have, you tell them you have until next Friday. So you put in the date, enable until, and then you can put in the date. If you would like to enable from until and until, so let's say you say, I want you to complete it between Monday and Friday. You have those amount of days to do it. You can do from and then until. So even if they see the assessment, let's say you publish it, you can say from, and then they'll be like, I can't click on it. Well, that's because it's not enabled yet. So I just do the enable button because I like my students to be able to go back at any time and complete the assignment. So, but make sure you do that. It's like a double jeopardy type of thing. Like if you have it published, I think it should just say enable, but it doesn't. And so you got to manually go in and click that. Okay, then click save as always. And yeah, so that's how you create an assessment. Again, I did it in resources, but you do not have to. You could go and create it right in your class. You can say add materials, add assessment. Same principle, looks the exact same way. I just prefer resources because you can assign it multiple places. You can also take an assessment and save it to resources. You can also do that with your assignments. Pro tip, save to resources so that you don't have to create it a million times in a year. So if you want any more information on anything that I've covered or anything on how to create an assessment or any of the other questions, please let me know and I can help you out. But I hope this was helpful. I use this a lot in my teaching and it's been so useful, so helpful, less grading time, wonderful, and the students, for the most part, understand what to do as opposed to most assignments. So if you have any questions, please feel free to let me know. But otherwise, have a wonderful day.